You are at the end of the rant rainbow, where I rant about whatever my patrons wanted me to rant about like a year ago. This one's for Rusty Shackelford, who says, rant about the following Western Isekai shows: Infinity Train, Amphibia, The Owl House, and Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. Netflix also not really Isekai, but it does have a girl in a strange world. So, a bunch of the links that were to these shows were broken, but I checked out most of the first episode of Amphibia, which is a Disney Channel show about a girl who gets sent to a world where she's in like a frog village that's surrounded by mountains, and she's there's like lots of giant insects that seem to be like preying on the frogs, which is interesting. The show has a really cool aesthetic. It's really comfy to look at, and like the small town vibe of it, like it reminded me of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic to some degree, like tonally, the type of jokes that it has being very much like a kids show. It was a little too much of a kids show for me to want to watch, because I was like with all of these shows, really the biggest problem I had with them is that they don't take their worlds very seriously. They're all isekai shows, but the worlds they're being sent to seem like they're based mostly on lolso random logic and just like having crazy wacky stuff happen. And like even Amphibia was probably the one that felt the most cohesive in its setting, in that like, you know, there was a strong theme of frog related stuff going on, but like even still, it didn't seem like I was going to get like an exceptionally fleshed out world from this or anything, which a lot of isekai is really about the world building and all the dumb systems and shit that the author comes up with. I watched just the trailers for Infinity Train and Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, and both of those were in this odd space of like having obvious anime influence, but like it's just always interesting what stuff anime fixates on versus Western cartoons. And the biggest similarity these shows all have towards anime is probably just putting more effort into the backgrounds. Like Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts in particular had some really cool looking background art and like monster designs and weird shit going on in its world, but it again looked like just a bunch of lolso random weird wacky stuff going on in this world. And Infinity Train was not much different from the way its trailer looked. That one had kind of more awkward animation, less impressive character art and background art compared to the other one. And then I watched a bunch of the first episode of The Owl House, which I'd heard a lot of good things about as well. That one is more fun for its characters, where the main girl is like this overly expressive, like she's just like always doing weird fun stuff that freaks out her classmates. So they're threatening to send her to summer camp, but she ends up instead going to like finding a way to teleport to this other weird world where she works with this cool witch lady. I like that there was a cool witch lady. She had a fun personality. But like this one, not only did it have the lolso random thing with the world building, but the dialogue was just like too over the top with being like meta self-aware and like overly self-referential, and you know, just really like it made everything feel harder to connect with for me, where even though these characters had like personalities I could connect with, they seemed to not take their role in reality seriously, which thematically is kind of appropriate, because the girl's problem is that she like can't seem to separate reality from fantasy. That's what they're telling her. So I guess that's fine. It's just weird hearing the characters constantly like undercut everything they're doing, where the girl is like talking about how she's like, oh, this isn't the G-rated fantasy that I had always wanted as a kid and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess that stuff can be funny, and if that's your sense of humor, this show will be perfect for you, but it wasn't necessarily mine. So all of these were interesting. None of them were something I really see myself trying to check out, but I like the trend. I like that we've got more of these shows trying to have like adventure and more of a character focus and more like unique settings, but I want them to put more thought into it and trying to make it like an actual cohesive story. You know, even with Japan, even with their comedies, they like them to be somewhat orderly much of the time, where there is like an internal system of logic behind it all. So yeah, that's my thoughts.